Chairman of the National Family Engagement Alliance, a nonprofit dedicated to transforming education through meaningful family engagement. He serves as the Director of Educational Leadership and Policy for Microsoft and is a consulting author for Scholastic. Let's take a look at this video.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce to you Speaker for Life, ladies and gentlemen, Byron V. Garett. Author of the highly popular book, ABCs of Life, Byron has released his first illustrated children's book, There's Greatness on the Inside. In 2017, Scholastic Inc. released the Byron Garett Social Emotional Learning Collection. He's worked with Fantasia, Tashina Arnold, CeCe Peniston, President Clinton, and Elle Varner. He served on boards including MyQVO, Boys and Girls Harbor, and the Guyana Foundation. Byron has been featured in publications such as The Wall Street Journal, Ebony, USA Today, and Jet Magazine. He's the education blogger for the Huffington Post. He's even made appearances on MSNBC, Fox, Dr. Phil, and The Today Show. As a national leader on education, he's served as an advisor to elected officials, federal agencies, the Office of the First Lady, and the White House. He's produced major events like Education Nation for NBC News and is now one of America's leading education advocates as chairman of the National Family Engagement Alliance. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the most compelling voices of our time, please welcome Speaker for Life, Mr. Byron V. Garett.
Look out!
Right. Showtime. Guess who's back again? Well, good afternoon or good morning. Let's see, what time is it? It's still morning, technically. Good morning? Oh, come on, you got to do better than that. Good morning? It is certainly good to see each and every one of your smiling faces, parcels and spaces, dentures and braces on a day like today. I am certainly excited, enthused, and encouraged and elated to be here with you. Do me a huge favor for the entire NAA team that has put together this wonderful conference. Please give them a huge hand for what is a job well done. So I have the big, difficult task of accomplishing several things in the time that I'm with you, so I'm going to get right into it. So as I would say, if you were on a plane today, buckle your seatbelt, because we're going to go. Y'all ready? I mean, you work in the after-school place, so you have no choice. When they show up, you better be ready. If not, they're going to tell you how to get ready. But this particular day, I really wanted to talk about this very timely issue. How do we help wire young people for greatness? How many of you have heard the term social emotional learning? How many of you know what it means? Everybody know what it means. It ain't new. The term itself is new, relatively speaking. But kids have been dealing with social emotional issues since the beginning of time. The concept in and of itself is not new. How we discuss and deal with it in this day and age, because you do know that we deal with issues that we've never seen before. Right. Y'all know that, right? You know, they used to say kids don't come with instructions. Well, the world don't come with instructions no more. I don't even know what day is what, and it could switch. One year this is a planet, the next year it's not. Ain't no telling what's going to happen between now. Your biggest challenge right now is to figure out how do you even prepare a young person for a world that does not even exist. You think I'm kidding? Anybody have an iPhone? Anybody know how old an iPhone is? 10 years? Mm-hmm. Did you ever think you'd pay $1,000 for a cell phone? Did you ever think you would stand in line waiting to get one? Mm-hmm. And some of y'all like, I ain't standing in line. I ordered mine on Amazon. And then y'all crazy because you pay the extra price to get Amazon Prime because you're too lazy to wait the extra 2 days. I'm just saying, I don't know what has happened. Anybody have to go to Starbucks this morning to get your coffee? Anybody get a latte, which is basically an expensive cup of hot milk that you could have got for $2.79 a gallon, but you paid $4.29? Come on now. I'm not crazy. I had to do a level set to make sure we good, make sure I'm in the right place. So I've been on the road the last few years specifically talking with young people across this country and around the globe about this notion that I need them to read to be great in order to lead to be great. I wrote this wonderful kids book called There's Greatness on the Inside, that if the mind can conceive it and the heart can believe it, then the hands can achieve it because it all begins in the mind. Repeat after me, say, if the mind can conceive it and the heart can believe it, then the hands can achieve it because it all begins in the mind. Look at the person next to you and say, that's some good stuff. I tell you that because I believe that young people and all of us need to live greatly. You know that we're all children at heart, is that right? You know you're still a kid. You're not 12 anymore. I know you claim to be, but you're not. Some of us ain't been 12 in quite some time. And sometimes I walk into classrooms and I sit down with students and I have difficulty. You can't say we're sitting Indian style anymore. You say we're still going to sit crisscross applesauce. And I have to remind the teacher, boo, I can't sit crisscross applesauce for so long. I'm 6'1", so what we're going to do is Chris. I don't know about that cross. But I believe that we've got to live greatly and pursue greatness in every single thing that we do. I like to start here. This is my family. I know, I'm the cute one in the middle. In case you can't figure it out, yeah, I have big ears. And I'm so glad that my body cut off the sides of my ears and my head. I'm just saying, there's nothing you can say or tell me about this photo that I have not heard from my two older brothers who bookended. I call them dumb and dumberer. They've done everything you should not do to a sibling. I've been in a washing machine and a dryer. I've jumped off a roof with a sheet thinking that I was Superman and could fly, only to find out and discover at an early age I have human limitations. But one can wrongly make the assumption that because you grew up in the same household with the same set of parents and the same morals, values, and beliefs that you would have the same outcomes. What you don't see in this image is that my eldest brother, who's on the far left side of this photo, has been incarcerated the last 19 years of my life, actually in this very state. My middle brother, who's on the far right, lives 15 minutes from me. If my mother is in town, I will see him definitely. If my father's in town, it will be negotiable. And if anyone else is in town, it's probably not going to happen. But we grew up in the same household with the same morals, the same values, the same beliefs, and the same set of parents who are still married to this day. You see, our young folk, yeah, give them applause. They ain't here, though, but. No, look, my mom was texting me this morning. You better get yourself out of the bed. I know you're sleeping late. Like, why do you know that already? Because I birthed you, that's why. But I tell you that because we wrongly make the assumption that the young people that we deal with and the families that they come from, that because you're in certain locations or you look a certain way, that you have a certain sense of swagger and style and substance, that you end up being someone different than we expect you to be. I will tell you that in this day and age, there is no surefire guarantee for what the outcome will be, whether you've gone from Luxury Avenue to Losing Lane or Losing Lane to Luxury Avenue. The challenge we face in this day and age is how do we prepare young people for a world that does not yet exist? And more importantly, how do we work with their families to help navigate this landscape? Because it is confusing. I don't care how educated you are, bless you. It is a significant challenge in this day and age. Take a look at this image right here. So in 1969, because of the year, we'll say that that is a couple that is married, with the educator looking at the student saying, can you explain these grades? And then we'll look at the far right side of this particular photo and we'll see where it says today. Because it is today, we don't know if they're married or not, so we'll just say that we have two adults and a student who are looking now at the educator saying, boo, can you explain these grades? You see, the challenge is neither of these images hold the truth. We have a shared and collective responsibility not to just explain the grades, but to explain the outcomes. Does that make sense? You see, it's challenging because we live in a global world and we vie for global competition every single day. We've got this video clip I want you to take a peek at so you understand what global looks like in this day and age.
चार सहयोगी हैं तो ये संख्या कोई 60-70 लाख की संख्या है और इतनी बड़ी संख्या
Now, before you get confused and get caught up on the wrong message, let me clarify that I don't endorse the notion of cheating. However, that is not the issue in this particular case, as I see it. What I see and what you see captured within that video are family members who are so concerned about the education of their young people that they have scaled the side of a 5-story building for no other purpose than to pass answers into the classroom to help the students cheat for one objective, which is for them to return back to class. You see, it's different in India than it is here in the States. We talk about high-stakes testing. We talk about accountability. And you can go to an alternative program, you can get a GED. We have 100 different ways that you can still get a quality education in this country should the traditional system not work for you. But at no time do we really tell a 15 or 16-year-old that if you fail the test, that it is over, you go to work tomorrow. But they do in India. You see, the competition for young folks and their families, it's not the people who are stated right here in Georgia. It's not folks that are from Los Angeles or Chicago or North Carolina or up in Washington, D.C. It is folks literally around the world. Now, I used to be CEO of the National PTA, the Parent Teacher Association, and during that time frame, I traveled to 38 states and 6 different countries as CEO. I have never in my life, in all of my travels to this very day, seen folks so eager for children to be able to stay in school that they've scaled a 5-story building, literally risking life and limb for one sole objective than to keep their child in class. I had difficulty getting parents to get out of their car in the carpool lane just to come in and say hello. And I did donuts with dads. And they'd be like, Mr. Garrett, you got the Krispy Kremes? Yeah, but you can't get one unless you come across the gate. You got to get out of your car, put it in park. But I really want the Krispy Kreme. Well, it wants you too, but it's a jelly field. If you want it, you need to be on this side. And I'm sitting here steadily taking a step back. Come on, we almost got you. Then they're like, no, we're at the line. I ain't coming in there, not today. But I want you to understand that the world that we live in is different. We say we recognize that. We say we understand the data. When I was a school principal in Phoenix, 97% of my students were free and reduced lunch. 75% of them, one or both parents, had been incarcerated at some point in time. I said I knew the data because I read it in a file. I said I knew the population that I served because I understood the demographics. But then you see images like this next video clip that put it in perspective for you. Go ahead and roll the next one.
Uncle Nick had kicked us out. Couldn't find anyone else who'd take us in. Lip and Ian and me were sleeping in the back seat when Frank pulled over. Middle of the night. I think it was Halstead. Told me to take the boys and sit on the curb and he'd be right back. I was 6. A few hours later, we're still sitting on the sidewalk and Ian's head is burning up. He's hysterical. I don't know what to do. So I ran down the street, Lip under one arm, Ian under the other, trying to flag down help. Would have been easier scoring crack than a ride to the clinic. I finally made it on foot. They said Ian had a fever of 104. Another couple hours, who knows? I didn't find Frank till a couple days later. First thing he asked me was how much money I had on me. I wish I could say that was the only time, but it was just the first. My mother's bipolar, and my father's an alcoholic and an addict. He takes what he pleases and he offers nothing. No money, no support. I've done what I could to help raise my siblings. I wish I could have done more.
Yeah, take a deep breath. Because that is the world that we live in, as dramatized in the hit television show on Showtime. Anybody seen Shameless? Any fans in the house? I have not caught up with the latest season, so do not be a bad friend. Do not. Did you see? No, I didn't. I just told you I didn't, so don't do it. But I wanted to show you that because I want to put it into context that family engagement still equals greater student success and student outcomes when we figure out how to get the family engaged, and we have to determine who's the appropriate person in the family. You see, in after-school programs and even in the regular school day, we make these assumptions and we have policies and things that we need folks assigned to protect us and make sure that everything is legally buttoned up correctly. But the reality is, in this clip, what you see is the eldest daughter who's petitioning the court so that she can be now the legal guardian of her siblings because she's finally hit too many walls that she can't overcome as a teenager. She needs the legal right to be able to do what she needs to do. And I know what you're thinking. No family has to deal with all of these issues. And I will tell you that I disagree. Because we don't know what our students deal with unless you go home with them. You cannot claim expertise on their life. And even the parent or family member who you every now and then you want to turn the nose down because they don't return the call or return the text, or they late picking up, now you got to charge them the additional fee because they went overtime, and you keep telling them if they go overtime again, eventually you're going to have to kick their child out of the program, but something in you knows this is their only option. And they've got to stay right where they are because they're not going to get an afternoon snack, they're not going to get an evening meal unless they're right here with the program that I provide that I'm responsible for. You see, the work that you do is so critical. I tell people I don't even watch the news anymore. I don't have time for the 24-hour news cycle because I'm too busy living life. I don't need somebody to tell me about it. You know, when you look at CNN, CBS, NBC, MSNBC, Fox, and all the rest of the alphabet soup, all you get are collections of the stories of the day. You're out here making the stories happen and unproving or disproving what the reality they thought they could portray on television. You see, I know that Shameless is a real story. I know too many families that fall through the cracks and too many young folks who are counting on your program and your staff to do just that, to be the person that stands in the middle to bridge the gap. That's a reality. I've lived in the D.C. area now over 12 years. And when President Obama got elected, I'll never forget, I was sitting in a meeting, he was president-elect, and I was representing PTA, and he said, "Sir, you haven't said anything." I said, "With all due respect," you know, when you start that, they already know it's some trouble. I said, "With all due respect, Mr. President-elect and Secretary Duncan designee, my parents told me that if I don't have anything good to say, don't say nothing at all. And on behalf of the PTA, I don't have anything that I need to say to you all today. Other than congrats, I'm glad you're in office." And then he looked, and Mrs. Obama walked in and said, "No, we really want to know what you got to say." I said, "Well, I'll tell you since you asked, because Mrs. Obama asked." "I'll tell you." I said, "But listen, y'all were out on this campaign trail and you kept telling people to turn the TV off. That was your instructions for parents. I have a few questions, but let me get through them before you begin to answer. One, why do you tell them to turn the TV off? And two, how do you know they got a TV? And three, what are they supposed to do when they turn the TV off? And four, there's no nanny in most of these households, and if they did to turn the TV off, they don't even have books in the house, so they don't even have anything to read. So I'm just curious, what do you expect them to be able to do? Because you even made the assumption that there was a parent home in the first place to turn the TV off." I chuckled because he said, "I thought you didn't have nothing to say." I said, "You've been forewarned." And as we were navigating that conversation, and obviously they began their term, I said, "Listen, I'm going to continue to travel this country and around the globe doing my work of what I do, and I hope you get yours right." And Secretary Duncan said, "Excuse me?" I said, "Sir, I hope that you get it right, because let me tell you something about mathematics." Now, I'm not a mathematician, but this is what I do know. The data tells me that if you're in kindergarten, by the time you get to third grade, if you're not on level, you're never going to make up the achievement gap. The last time I checked, kindergarten to third grade equals 4 years. 4 years equals one term. I don't have time to sit in these meetings talking about what you're going to do and whether you get it right, because by the time you get out of office, I got babies that have already failed, and they're only 9 or 10 years old. I don't have time to wait. Because this is the reality that we live with. In this era of social emotional learning, there's no one that can escape the thought and the livelihood of Tamir Rice in Chicago. If you don't know, in Cleveland, if you don't know his story, you're disconnected from the population you're trying to reach. If you don't know Colin Kaepernick and why he chose to kneel, you're disconnected from the population you're trying to reach. If you have no idea who this young lady is, you are disconnected. She doesn't even have a name. She's got a series of sounds. She's known as the Catch Me Outside girl. And I know you're saying the same thing that Dr. Phil said when she was on the show. Say what? She's known as the Catch Me Outside girl because she was on Dr. Phil because she was being defiant. So Dr. Phil, you know, because on them sessions in the TV show, they're supposed to be able to solve all the problems. How many of y'all know it can't be solved in 30 minutes, and some of us are taking 30 years and we still need help? I'm just saying. That's why Ayanla has Fix Your Life. I'm just saying. I don't know about you. But I'm telling you, her name is Danielle. Danielle can make more money walking through this room than most of us are making a month. She can walk from this door in the club and walk out of that door under the age of 21 and pick up $4,000 because she's now famous and she went viral. All because she was being defiant and delinquent and told her mother what she was not going to do. So a woman in the audience then stood up and said, "Baby, what you not going to do here?" And she said, "No, ma'am, you catch me outside. How about that? So let me get this right. You're here because you're defiant against your mom, and now you think so much of your teenage self that you can take on the entire adult audience." And she stood up, and she meant that. Social emotional learning in this day and age, the challenges that our young people face are drastically different than anything we've seen before. Now, who would have thought she could get monetized walking through a club that she shouldn't even legally be in because she showed up, grabbed a microphone, and all she says was, "Catch me outside, how about that?" And she makes somebody's entire salary for the month in one night. I want you to put that in perspective. And if you don't know who she is, the students in your programs do. That's why many of them went dressed as her for Halloween. And they had little signs, "Catch me out." I'm like, no, I don't need to catch you outside. How about you get a verb and a syllable and learn how to use context clues? How about that? And perhaps you know this particular story. These are 5 boys that were playing what we call ding ding. They stood over a bridge and they would drop rocks, seeing how many times it would hit a car to listen to see if it would ding. And if your rock dinged multiple times on the same vehicle, then you got more points than the other students did. Now, I'm from North Carolina originally. All I did was go to a lake and skip rocks, and we would see how many times it skipped. But they're throwing rocks over a bridge. And the reason you look at these images, because those are 5 mugshots that they now have, because they're standing trial for murder. Because they threw the wrong size rock over the bridge, it hit a car, which caused someone to lose their life. Do you think at the time of age of 14, 15, and 16, they were thinking that if I throw this rock over, it will cause somebody to die? No, they did not. They lacked the ability to think it through. And I don't know, when I was skipping rocks in North Carolina, if I hit a fish and it died, I have no idea. Young people deal with different issues today than we've ever seen, just like this one. And let me clarify, I don't get caught up in Black Lives and Blue Lives Matters in public settings, because when you do, you miss the issue. This is not a competition. There is only one human race. Because this is Diamond Reynolds, who's now the widowed fiance of Philando Castile, who lost his life in Minneapolis. And we saw the story because it was viral, because she shared it on Facebook Live at the time that he got shot, and it was tragic. But that's not what captured my attention and broke my heart. What broke my heart was her sitting in the back of a squad car with her 4-year-old daughter standing in between her knees, and her mother is sitting here being as loud and angry and boisterous as you could be after seeing someone lose their life and you're handcuffed while they figure out who is at fault. And the 4-year-old has presence of mind to tell her mother, who is hysterical, "Mommy, I need you to calm down. I don't want you to get shooted." See, we didn't see that clip on the news. It didn't make the Fox or CNN reel. What we should have seen was her follow-up statement when she folded her arms and said, "Mommy, it's okay. I'll protect you. I just wish our town was a little safer." What world was she born into? And how was she wired to reach the conclusion at the age of 4 in the middle of tragedy to tell her mother, "You need to calm down. Stop all that. Stop cussing. Stop raising your voice. Don't be trying to get out of your handcuffs because I don't want you to get shooted." She didn't know the right word, but she knew the context. And I got Danielle on TV saying, "Catch me outside. How about that?" But you have the entire spectrum sitting within your program. That's why with Scholastic we created this program, which I'm so excited about. Byron Garett Social Emotional Learning Collection, because we have too many situations like this in Parkland. We see issues that young people have to address every single day. Who would have ever thought that we would see students stage a protest in 2018 and literally walk out of schools en masse across the country? If you don't know that it exists and you are disconnected from the folks that you're trying to serve, you need to be real and relevant with the people that you're trying to reach. So if you drop by our booth after this, I'll be doing a book signing, and we've got some cool t-shirts. But if you give us a business card, we'll be raffling off a couple of the Social Emotional Learning Collection classroom libraries from Scholastic. So thank them for a partner. I know some of them are here. But this is awesome for your programs because it allows you to let your staff take their personal bias out of the context, and let's walk through these prominent issues of the day through literature and text while learning at the same time. Because, you know, some of us bring our own bias to the conversation. Y'all know that, right? You know you got bias. Y'all like, no, I don't have bias. If you don't, you're in denial. Call Dr. Phil and that girl will catch you outside. How about that? Let me move forward. Y'all remember these? That's yesteryear. And they're some of my favorites. Hey, boo-boo. I mean, all of those. But I have to remind people that that's not where we live, but that's what we program for. We really get it confused. And I was talking with some folks last night, and one of our colleagues said, you realize Wile E. Coyote and Roadrunner, that was a very bad cartoon. Tom and Jerry was very bad. It only promoted danger and violence. You know, Wile E. Coyote got hit by trains. You know, the anvil fell on his head. He jumped off a cliff several times because he could not stop. But I couldn't stop either because I rushed home every afternoon to see if he was going to live again today or die. But he couldn't have died because he made it back, and he's not a cat, and the cat has 9 lives. So I get really confused because then when I watch Tom and Jerry, I don't know what they are if Wile E. Coyote still made it. I'm just saying. That's where we were. But that's not where we are now. We live in an era where we can take Black Panther from a comic strip that nobody had really heard of unless you were a true diehard Marvel fan and make it an international blockbuster that puts women on the map in a different way. When is the last time, other than Wonder Woman, that you saw a group of women as the sole defenders and protectors? I want you to think about that. It sends messaging in a different way. Or you think stuff like Wrinkle in Time that we thought was just a great book as a kid that you got tired of reading. And then you see Ava DuVernay sit and turn it around into some type of masterpiece. You see, our young people are bombarded with different types of multimedia images and messages, and our challenge in all of our respective roles is to figure out how do we help them make sense of the reality and this thing they call life. There's this popular video that went viral called The $100 Race. I want you to take a peek at it because it's one of the most interesting things that I've seen and had a chance to work with some folks on in quite some time. Gentlemen, if you'll go ahead and roll that particular video.
Hey, line up. Line up. Everybody line up. We're about to race. Everybody line up. Shoulder to shoulder. Take off your backpacks. Basketball, line up. We're about to race. Hey, we are racing for a $100 bill. The winner of this race will take this. It's a $100 bill. Before I say go, I'm going to make a couple statements. If those statements apply to you, I want you to take 2 steps forward. If those statements don't apply to you, I want you to stay right where you're at. Take 2 steps forward if both of your parents are still married. Take 2 steps forward if you grew up with a father figure in the home. Take 2 steps forward if you had access to a private education. Take 2 steps forward if you had access to a free tutor growing up. Take 2 steps forward if you've never had to worry about your cell phone being shut off. Take 2 steps forward if you've never had to help mom or dad with the bills. Take 2 steps forward if it wasn't because of your athletic ability, you don't have to pay for college. Take 2 steps forward if you never wondered where your next meal was going to come from. I want you guys up here in the front just to turn around and look. Every statement I've made has nothing to do with anything any of you have done. Has nothing to do with decisions you've made. Everything I have said has nothing to do with what you've done. We all know these people over here have a better opportunity to win this $100. Does that mean these people back here can't race? No. We would be foolish to not realize we've been given more opportunity. We don't want to recognize that we've been given a head start. But the reality is we have. Now, there's no excuse. They still got to run their race. You still got to run your race. But whoever wins this $100, I think it'd be extremely foolish of you not to utilize that and learn more about somebody else's story. Because the reality is, if this was a fair race and everybody was back on that line, I guarantee you some of these black dudes would smoke all of you. And it's only because you have this big of a head start that you're possibly going to win this race called life. That is a picture of life, ladies and gentlemen. Nothing you've done has put you in the lead that you're in right now. When I say go, on your mark, get set, go! If you didn't learn anything from this activity, you're a fool.
So, take another deep breath. How many of you know that the young people who are in your program, they've done nothing to deserve where it is they are? Nothing. They were born, and they're here. People debate these terms all the time: equality, equity. What's the difference? What do we need to do fundamentally to transform our work as we engage families with the goal of having greater outcomes for young people? But how do we really equalize the playing field? We've heard all of those terms before. But I want to tell you, in this day and age, young people are smart. They vote with their feet. They decide whether a program meets their needs and interests, and if they don't like it, they walk right back out and never come back, and they're not going to complete a survey to tell you why. Their parents oftentimes feel they have no choice, so even if it's a bad program, they keep them in it because they don't have any options, or they feel that they don't. But anybody ever walked into a school setting and you could tell a student which class to take that's a really good teacher and which class to take that's a really bad teacher? Like I can remember telling my friends in school, if you don't want to learn it, then go take Mr. Morgan's science class because he don't do nothing all day. But now if you really want a hard English class and really know how to deal with how do you dissect a sentence, go see Miss Pittman because she's going to make you work and you're going to earn, it's going to be a C in her class. But it's going to be an A+ in anybody else's class because Ms. Pittman is going to make you work. We can walk in any setting across this country and talk to any student, and they can tell you with certainty, without any survey, without any performance assessment, what works and what does not work in their systems. I would encourage you that you have to keep that in mind, that as you're engaging young people in the programmatic design of the outcomes that you're trying to reach and even the services that you're attempting to deliver. You see, it's one thing to plan something for yourself. It's another thing to plan it with the intention of a parent in mind. I'll never forget. I kept trying to tell my teachers, I said, why are you all doing all these parent-teacher conferences during the day? Mr. Garrett, that's what that contract say. Now, I ain't coming down here on no weekend. I told him I'll stay here to 6, and 6 o'clock is late because the sun done went down, and I'm not trying to stay on this campus all night. And I used to have to tell my educators, so you don't want your students to succeed. They'd say, what do you mean? Well, you don't volunteer and participate in the after-school program. You don't even talk to the teachers and staff that we have in the after-school program. You don't spend any time trying to figure out what the kid has done after school to reinforce or support what you were doing during the day, because you know when they get home, by the time they get home at 10 o'clock at night, they don't have any time to focus on your work. So you better create a partnership with those folks because they're the people that are going to help make sure your work get done. And the board made me hire one particular educator. I'll never forget. I said, listen, I don't have a choice because you all tell me what to do, even though I supposedly get to make hiring, firing decisions, but I don't in this case. But she's board certified. She's a master educator. She is, but she's not certified in my children. I was in downtown Phoenix. She's in Scottsdale. Those two districts are very different. The demographics of those districts are not the same. I said, but I guarantee you she won't even make it to Halloween. And they said, you're setting her up for failure. No, I'm not. This script is already written. I know my kids. I know their attitudes, their values, beliefs. And she came in, she was so excited. Mr. Garrett, I'm going to save the world. These babies are going to learn, and I'm so excited to be here on your campus to transfer all of my knowledge and information. Let me show you my beautiful lesson plans and what I have laid out. I said, I don't want to see that. Let me see your classroom management strategy. Oh, I'm going to work on that. Well, boo, stop working on these lesson plans and let's get the classroom management strategy, because until you can figure that out, we're never going to know how great that lesson plan is. What are you trying to say? I'm trying to say, trust me, you're not ready. I'm like that viral clip, I wasn't ready. And she went out on short-term disability right after Labor Day and never came back to our campus. I never got to see how beautiful those lessons plans were, and our students never got that great education, as my grandmother would say, that she wanted to provide. So what I'm telling you is it requires us to think differently about this work and this notion of equity and access. I want you to look at this particular image that I have on the screen because the reality is the world is different and there are teachable moments that exist every single day. Anybody know this controversy that happened not long ago when everybody said, let's boycott H&M? All because we as Americans have arrogant perspectives and we don't understand international marketing and branding. I will not entertain a debate on this particular stage in this setting whether you think H&M is right or wrong, and whether or not you think the black students should have on the coolest monkey in the jungle shirt and whether that's offensive and the white kids should have it on or who should put it on. What I will tell you in both cases, wrong, 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 wrong. And let me tell you why. I still love Curious George to this day. Does that mean my mother was wrong for letting me read the books and let me dress up like Curious George for Halloween? Because that's what you're telling me. Children don't see things the same way we do. In this particular little boy, what people don't know is that that's actually his favorite character. He loves monkeys. We live in a hypersensitive, super social world that we allow our own bias, attitudes, and beliefs to invade and permeate the mind of children who have not formulated a 40-year-old mindset, but I'm telling you a 40-year-old idea, and I'm transporting it to an 8-year-old child. I want you to think about that. Because I have to remind staff in programs all the time, these kids are not your friends. When my nephews moved in with me and Dwayne walked in, Uncle Byron, do you want to play? No, sir, this is not playtime. You are 2 years behind. You need to get your stuff together. Well, it's not my fault. I didn't do well the last few years, and we're supposed to fix it now that we're living here. You are correct, but right now we're not playing. I don't have time to play with you. This is what we're going to be playing. We're going to get these books. Right. And he said, ran up the steps, and slammed my bedroom door, meaning the bedroom that he was sleeping in, because it don't belong to him. And then I heard him scribbling. He put a sign on the door that said, do not enter. I said, Brandon, which is his older brother, go downstairs and get me a Phillips screwdriver. That's the one that has the cross, not the flat. I took the hinges off the door, put the door flat on the ground. You don't slam no doors in this house. You don't pay rent. You don't pay mortgage. You don't even own the sheets that you slept on last night. We're not friends. Well, I'm going to delete you off. That was when we had MySpace. We're not going to be MySpace friends. And great, then send your MySpace friends your Christmas list. Don't send it to me. He got so frustrated. He was like, ooh, I'm so mad you could what? I can't say all that now because he's 6'2" and played college football. So he all built. Every now and then he's still ticklish though. I'm like, how you going to be that big and you ticklish? Like, stop. I'm like, what is wrong with you? But I tell you that because we've got to reframe these relationships of how we deal with people. Let me move forward before I go over time. A couple things I want you to think about historically. Anybody remember Maxwell Smart? Yeah, that means you kind of dated yourself. Me too. I wasn't quite born then. But I want you to look at the image if you can see it carefully. Maxwell Smart, who's Get Smart, was the show 1969 this particular image came from. He has on a watch with what we now know to be earbuds. He is having a conversation with someone. That was 1969. We didn't even know what earbuds were then. Anybody got an iPhone watch in the room? Anybody got a Google Watch? You can answer a cell phone, you can answer a phone call, you can do a text, you can use it as a pedometer, all on your wrist. And somebody said, well, you tech-oriented, why don't you get one? I don't want to answer your email or phone call as it is. I definitely don't want you vibrating on my wrist. And no, I'm not using it as a pedometer. Well, you need to check your steps. I don't need my wrist to tell me when I'm ready to go to bed that I need 500 more steps. I am good. Look, it is not a 6-pack, it is a 2-liter. It's not a gallon. I'm holding right where I am. I ain't got time for all that. But the world does not look the same. Boom boxes that are bigger than the person that carries them because people in New York said if you sit it on the ground, the earth will drain the batteries. I'm not a scientist, but that's not scientific. But that's not what the world looks like anymore at all. But if you know what these are, I just want to tell you you're awesome. Even though my mother tried to convince me that you weren't supposed to swallow gum, because if you swallow gum, it will stay in your system 7 days. I said, well, I guess I'll be stopped up for 30 because I ate that whole pack of Fruit Stripes. Because you know the flavor only lasts about 7 seconds. Come on now, you know it's cherry, strawberry, lime, lemon, and grape. Come on, anybody know about that? I'm just saying. But that's not where we live because this is where we live. I will go to the airport this afternoon. I will click an app called Uber. I will tell a stranger where I am. And I will tell the stranger where I'm going. And I will pay the stranger on the back end with somebody that I don't see that has my credit card. And I'm trusting and have faith in the system that they will not bill or do anything else. And some people use Airbnb, meaning you don't want to pay the price to stay in this hotel, so you will tell a stranger you'll rent out their place or a room within their place with their cat, dogs, and fish at home because you're too cheap to pay for the regular hotel. Come on, somebody. None of these existed 10 years ago. So when I opened and told you your greatest challenge is to prepare kids for a world that does not exist, this did not exist. TSA PreCheck, if you don't have it and you're flying, I feel sorry for you. Because if you go to the airport, when I go, I have it. As long as it's working, I'm going to go through. I'm going to swipe. I'm going to get that hot latte. Then I'm going to go to the bathroom. I'm not going to have to disrobe or unclothe. I'm going to go to the gate, and you still going to be standing in line because yours didn't go beep, beep. I'm just saying. But all of this stuff, you have kids that can become bloggers overnight. I can go and research is Beyonce really part of the Illuminati on Wikipedia? And if Wikipedia believes what I submit, they will update the official record. We couldn't do that with a dictionary or an encyclopedia. You had to wait till the next iteration came out, and it still wasn't right or up to date. I want you to think about that because the world that we live in and work in is different for these young folks. It is not what it used to be. Who would have thought that you could swipe your finger on a phone and unlock your device? Who would have thought you could sit and look at a laptop and you don't do nothing but sit there and then it turns on? I didn't. I mean, I remember seeing Tom Cruise in Minority Report on a plexiglass moving stuff around. I was like, oh my God, this is awesome. But now it's real. Y'all telling kids that they need to go see the Leaning Tower of Pisa, and they're like, nope, I got Google Glass, let me just walk around. Oh, I just walked around the Leaning Tower of Pisa all day long. Do you know there are some kids, they're so boastful and braggadocious. I watched a student go to school, he told his educator, he's like, I went to the Eiffel Tower, and bless her heart, she said, no, you didn't. He said, I did go to the Eiffel Tower. It's big, too. It has a light show at night. And she started scratching her head. She's like, did this little boy, he can't afford it. That was her thought. She didn't say it. You know, there are many things you can think that it should never leave your lips. But she was saying, she's like, he didn't go to the Eiffel Tower. He said, I walked all the way around it. So then she decided to play. She's like, well, how long did you walk? How big was it? He said, I don't know how long I walked. It seemed like a long time. But I went to the Eiffel Tower. Then I went to this castle that they call Excalibur. I went to all these places. She said, boy, sit down. You went to Las Vegas. Don't, just stop it. Just stop it. Yeah, some of y'all thinking you've been to the Eiffel Tower too. That ain't it. I want to tell you that because kids have access to unprecedented uses of technology in this day and age, that they can see and do things that we never would have thought possible. You have kids in your programs right now that can design apps and they can become millionaires in a matter of weeks or months or years. And you sit and get told them to put the device down, it's going to ruin your time concept. Do you realize most of us have an inability to sit and give undivided attention? I don't even understand what that concept means. I need to be doing 6 things at one time in order to pay attention to you. And I feel bad because when I start conversing with my mother, she gets so frustrated. Are you going to listen to me? Yes, ma'am, I'm listening to you. But you have 2 earbuds in, you can't hear me. Yes, you said I have 2 earbuds in and I can't hear you. Are you getting smart? And then I remember, that's my mama. No, ma'am, I'm not. And you take 2 steps back, so I'm out of reach. I'm just saying. We live in an environment where folks are on multisensory overload. This is not new to you at all. I mentioned Amazon earlier. Jeff Bezos, you know, he lost like $6 billion one day because the stock dropped. I want you to think about that. That's a whole lot of Amazon Prime memberships. And y'all have Amazon Prime, you use it because you don't want to wait for the stuff to come. He and this gentleman named Elon Musk said that they were going to go to Mars one day and they're going to colonize, and the people told them that they were crazy and they laughed. The same way someone told this little girl named Michaela when she said, I'm going to sell my grandmother's lemonade and I'm going to bottle it and call Sweet Bee Lemonade. And now she's in Trader Joe's and Whole Foods because she was the youngest person at the time to go on Shark Tank and secure an actual deal. And I will admit, when I do go to Whole Foods, which is not that often, but when I do go, I buy a bottle of her lemonade because she reminds me of myself when I had a Kool-Aid stand. And I simply sold my cup for 25 cents because we didn't have Shark Tank at the time. And Bethany was across the street and she sold lemonade. So I did my first merger and acquisition because Bethany just wanted to wave at people and I wanted to make some money. So I said, let's consolidate stands. Your house sits right on the corner. It's a better piece of real estate. And what we're going to do is now mix the lemonade and Kool-Aid together. You just sit there and smile and wave, and I'm going to pour the cup and take the money. And you know what she said at the end of the day? She didn't want any money. She's like, this was so fun. Let's do it again tomorrow. It's a date. I took all that money home. And my mom told me, where do you get that change from? And I had to think about that very carefully because, you know, that was at the stage in North Carolina where you got to think, well, how do I tell you that I've been hanging out and playing with the little white girl across the street, and I took over her lemonade stand, and we were on their corner selling stuff, and she didn't want any money? That just, in my head, it just did not sound like it would be believable. You know what I'm saying? So then I said, Mommy, you need to go meet Bethany's parents and make sure they're okay that we have a lemonade stand together. I never told them about who got what money because they didn't need to know. But I wish I was Michaela and I had the foresight to figure out how I could get my stuff sold in stores. You need to understand that the young person that's telling you that they have a dream, a vision, and a goal, that they live in a world that every single thing is possible, that if the mind can conceive it and the heart can believe it, then the hands can achieve it because it all begins in the mind. That's why when Jeff and Elon Musk said that they were going to launch a spaceship and fly a Tesla out to some planet that may not exist in 10 years, they had to revise the statement because they said we're not going to do it in 10, we think we're going to do it in 5. Anybody know that a spaceship went off about 2 months ago, headed to a place called Mars? I want you to think about that because we never thought in our lifetime. I remember watching Challenger sitting in school. Kids this year, they watched space exploration and they watched it go up. And they watched the car sit here and launch out into space. Don't tell people what is not possible. It's only impossible because no one has done it yet. Does that make sense? Let me wrap up. I'm going to leave you with this thought. I have this great saying for all the negative people I encounter. It's called, whoop, shut it down. So if you don't like my I Love Haters t-shirt, I really don't care. Your opinion does not matter unless you can buy me a brand new shirt. Your opinion does not matter. So whoop, shut it down. You don't like the jacket and jeans I have on today unless you're taking me to Lenox Mall or Phipps to buy me something brand new. Your opinion does not matter. Whoop, shut it down. You don't like the sparkly sneakers I have on today unless you can get me some red bottoms. Your opinion does not matter. Whoop, shut it down. You don't like the program that I run, then boo, make an investment and improvement. Otherwise, your opinion does not matter about me, my kids, or my staff. Whoop, shut it down. I'm just saying. Yeah. So listen, there are a lot of things that happen in this world, and a lot of things that happen to people that we need to apologize for. And if you've had an incident or an issue throughout your life, I am sorry. But once we get past all the I'm sorries, we don't get to make excuses. Excuses satisfy those who make them. And generally, the only person that's satisfied is the one who made the excuse. I want to show you one more clip just before I leave because it is one of my favorites. Let me move forward. Oh, I missed it. I'm sorry, guys. Right about here. That's me having a conversation with myself because I did an alter ego photo shoot. And this is how I looked at the time. I sent that image to my mother, and she said, I told you people not going to like you because they got to mind the company you keep. And my mother said, so who is that rapper? And I said, Mom, it's me. It's for my birthday. I did an alter ego. You did an alter who? Why don't you just want to be yourself? I said, Mom, I do want to be myself. But that day, I wanted the picture to be somebody else. But I didn't birth somebody else, so I don't know who the somebody else is. I said, Mama, I don't understand. She said, I don't understand either. Aren't you Byron? Yes, ma'am. Well, who is the person in the picture? Mama, that's Byron, too. But how does Byron have an alter ego of himself if he knows that he is Byron? Can I tell you, when I finished that conversation, I was confused. I wasn't sure who I was. But I show you that because oftentimes we mistake things based upon the package that it comes in. It doesn't come looking the way that we expect it to. Because as I told her, I said, Mom, I could have been 50 cents. She said, you mean the man that's 2 quarters? Yes, ma'am. But Mama, he's worth $600 million now. He sold that water company called Vitamin Water that you like. He did that. I thought he rapped. He did, but he can sell water too. You know, he's multi-talented. He has multiple gifts and talents. He can do different things at the same time. And she said, oh, you going to start rapping? No, ma'am, I'm not. I leave you with this as an example because I want you to realize that in this day and age, there is no guarantee for success. It is our greatest challenge is to figure out how do we move young people in the right direction. I mentioned I'm doing a book signing, and it's what I wrote with my nephews in mind. It simply says, take the A to accept the challenge. Take the B to believe in the cause. Take the C and know that the choices you make, not the chances you take, determine success in life. Take the D to define yourself and develop your own goals and objectives. Take the E to expect failure, but also expect success. Take the F and fight on, be faithful, and finish whatever it is you start. Take the G to gravitate towards positive, successful people for the right reason at the right time. Take the H and harness everything within you, not to be rich or famous, but just to be wealthy, because wealthy is not ever going to be found on the New York Stock Exchange. Take the I to initiate the process, to get involved, to learn how to, and every now and then, just let it all hang out. But take the J and know that jealousy gets you nowhere. That's why you almost justify your actions. Take the K to keep on keeping on and kick those negative habits and negative folks to the curb. Take the L to learn how to learn, so you still learn something new every day. And then if it is important, you can think the great M for more money, more money, more money. But remember the great song that says the more money you have, the more problems you will see. That's why you measure your worth based upon what's inside your head and heart instead of what's parked in your driveway or hanging in your closet. Take the N to never, never, never say never. As you take the O to organize your life and order your steps. Take the P and do me a personal favor. Put first things first, but always practice whatever it is you preach. Take the Q and quit quitting. Quitters never win and winners never quit. Or take the R to respect people based upon their skills, talents, and achievements, and respect them on nothing else. Take the S and stay strong to your values and beliefs and don't sell out to your friends or even your family. Take the T and travel the long road to equality, because we still have a long ways to go. Take the U to utilize your network or someone else's to do well in life. And then take the V to visualize it. Only when you see it can you be it. And take the W and work, 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 till all your work is done. But my personal favorite letter of the alphabet has always been the letter X, which stands for X-ray your own life for improvement. Not mine, your coworkers, your colleagues, your neighbors, Pookie, Ray Ray, Boo Boo, your in-laws. X-ray your own life for improvement. In other words, you have 24 hours in a day, 12 hours to mind your business, 12 hours to take care of your business, leaves you zero time for anybody else's business. X-ray your own life for improvement. Take the Y and yield to opportunity, and above all things, take the Z to zealously strive to achieve. Those are ABCs of life, and I'm Byron Garett, speaker for life. If not now, then when? If not you, then who? Thank you all so much, and enjoy the rest of your conference.
I got this feeling on the summer day when you were gone. I crashed my car into the bridge.
How amazing was Byron? Give him another hand. That was awesome. You know, at the risk of diminishing the energy that Byron brought, there's something I have to say. In the time that we've been here together just this morning, we've had another bombing in Austin. We've had another school shooting this morning. The work we do is so important. The work we do with families, with our communities, making children know that they are valued, that they have a voice, that they can speak up and speak for themselves. Just please know that the work you do is so important and it matters. So I get the great pleasure of announcing our social media winner. A little bit of spoiler alert Byron gave there. Our winner, so it was posted by an individual but with an organization, the Indian Alaskan Native Families in Nevada. So congratulations. Somebody on your team is going to New York City next year for NAA 19. And we had another really close runner-up, so we want to give that person a special gift, a gift box of games from MindWorks, and that winner is Marby Shaw. So Marby, Heidi's over here with your gift box, so please come up. And so we have one more registration to give away. Show us how brilliant convention has made you feel by posting a photo of one of your favorite workshops, presenters, or sessions. Don't forget to use the hashtag NAA18, and we will announce that winner tomorrow. So enjoy your lunch. See you downstairs on the Learning Expo. See you back here tomorrow morning. Thank you.
You're so damn hard to please. We gotta kill this switch. You're from the 70s, but I'm a 90s bitch.